Are you planning to write a research proposal for a dissertation or a thesis, but not so sure where to start from? Then today is your day. Today we are going to discuss how to write an academic research proposal. Let's straight away dive into the issues. A research proposal is a structured plan of how the research project should be undertaken. The items displayed on the screen start from the topic down up to a list of references. The elements differ from one academic institution to another. So you should consult with your department the elements they would recommend you to include in the research proposal. Let's look at how each section should be structured. A research topic is developed from an idea in a certain area of study. Students in the School of Commerce study banking and finance, economics, marketing, business management, just but to mention a few degree programs. Within those degree programs, you might have developed interest in certain concepts during classes. So from those concepts, develop an idea and turn that idea into a research topic. The research topic should summarize the main purpose of the research. The topic should be clear and problem focused. At the end of the day, someone should see that there is a problem that is worth researching. Attributes of a good research topic. There are two important issues to take care of here. A good research topic is feasible and appropriate. Under feasibility, would come now and say the topic should be fascinating to the researcher. That is, pick a research topic that excites you or that gives you enthusiasm. Because when things go tough along the way, you won't feel the pain. The topic should be achievable within the limited time frame and resources. So pick a topic which you can cover or which you can research on using the limited resources and the limited time as well. When you finish your research project, the topic should be current. It's very unfortunate that at the end of the road, having done everything, you discover that the topic has been overtaken by events. So make sure that the kind of topic that you select would be current when you finish your research project. Also, pick a topic where access to data is not a problem. I've seen so many students in the School of Commerce struggling as far as data issues are concerned. So I'm giving you a tip today saying make sure that the topic that you choose, there is the access to data is not a problem. Is the topic appropriate? The topic should meet the specifications and standards of the examining board. You have to check with your department their specifications or their requirements as far as the topics are concerned. The topic should have a clear link to theory. What is it that which you learned in class which you would want to research on? The topic should provide new insights into the area of interest, that is, new knowledge. It's very unfortunate for someone to regurgitate information without bringing in new knowledge. So you have to ask your question, you have to ask yourself a question as a student and say, what is it that which is new which I would want to bring about? Tips on how to structure the topic. Make the right choice of words as required by your department. Common phrases which are normally used by students include an analysis of, an investigation of, an evaluation of. However, these phrases should be used with caution. Some scholars discourage students from using these phrases because they feel that the phrases make the topic unnecessarily long. So you have to consult your supervisor on how best you should structure the topic in terms of wording. Approximately, the topic should be 8 to 22 words long. Avoid too broad or too narrow topics. Too broad topics might be difficult to cover within the shortest possible time, and too narrow topics limit the researcher's capabilities in terms of skills development. Your topic should be clear in terms of the variables you wish to study. That is the dependent variable and the independent variable or independent variables. I have an example here. The impact of inflation on economic growth in Zimbabwe between 2000 and 2018. The independent variable is inflation and the dependent variable is economic growth. Make sure that when you structure your topic, the dependent variable and the independent variable are present. This would make life very simple for you. Now moving on, you should also look at the introduction. The introduction, under the introduction, you should briefly explain your topic and what you exactly want to look at. Give a possible motivation about the topic. What is it that which motivates you as the researcher? The researcher is encouraged to make citations. You may also specify what the proposal will cover, that is, other elements of the research proposal. In terms of length, the introduction should cover approximately half a page. Why? Because we have a background to the study section. If the background to the study section was not available, then I would encourage you to take the elements of the research of the background to the study section and include them under the introduction. The background to the study section encompasses pertinent information about the topic under study. Take note here, students make mistakes by thinking that anything about the variables should be included. Using the previous example on the relationship between inflation and economic growth, not everything about inflation should be put under the background to the study or everything about economic growth. The question one has to answer in the process is, does the information address the topic? If it does, then you can include it in the background to the study section. If it's general information, please don't include general information. Pick information that is pertinent, that you feel to be worth as far as your variables are concerned. After reading this section, one should be convinced that there is a gap that needs to be filled. After reading the background to the study section, we should actually be contented that there is a problem. Citations are also crucial. In terms of length, the background to the study section should be about 2 to 3 pages. As a general tip, you can adopt the cone approach of background formulation. Start from a broader angle or from a global perspective as far as your topic is concerned. What are the issues on the international markets as far as inflation and economic growth are concerned? So you look at your topic from a global perspective or from a wider angle. Then you limit your work to a narrow and specific angle or a regional perspective. Regionally, what are the issues within SADC? What are the issues? So you are now narrowing down. Then you end by clarifying the gap that needs to be filled. So at the end of the day, we would have a background to the study section. Moving on, you'd also need to look at the justification of the study. The researcher should convince the reader why the research is worth doing. Take note, you have not yet carried out the research and you should specify the possible contributions to be made by the research. The length, approximately half a page would suffice. I have an example here. The research study underway is worth pursuing, for it has the potential to. So you are now justifying, you are now giving us the possible contributions which the research might bring about. The research study underway is worth pursuing or is worth undertaking, for it has the capacity to, for it has the potential to. So you are now justifying. There is a saying which researchers normally put across: where there is no problem, there is no research. A problem statement is a concise description of the issues to be addressed by the research and is made up of three parts: the ideal situation, the reality, and the consequences. And these would be in a single paragraph. The ideal situation is the desired state of affairs under normal circumstances. As far as the two variables are concerned, what is the desired state of affairs? What is the desired outcome? Then you also need to look at the reality, the actual or true state of affairs. What is the situation on the ground? That is the reality. So you need to link the ideal situation and the reality by using words such as however, despite the fact that, in spite of. Then someone can actually see that there is a problem. Then you need also to state the consequences associated with failure to bring the reality closer to the ideal situation. Then at the end of the day, we have a problem statement. The research aim is a brief statement of the purpose of the research project. It is often written as a sentence stating what you intend to achieve through your research. The research aim expresses what your research is all about. As an example there, the aim of this research is to analyze the impact of inflation on economic growth in Zimbabwe between 2000 and 2018. So it's normally stated in sentence form, and it should be specific as well. The research aim is too general. We need research objectives which are more specific. Research objectives allow you to operationalize your aim. That is, to state the steps you intend to take to achieve your goals. As a set, the research objectives illustrate the steps in the research process from start to conclusion without leaving any gap. The research objectives express how you intend to structure the research process. All the other chapters are premised on the research objectives. So the research objectives are very, very important. Why? Because all the other chapters or everything that we do is centered around objectives. By achieving our objectives, we are also achieving our aim and ultimately the final goal of the research project. At most, 5 objectives would be enough. The research questions should also be included in the research proposal. The questions clarify the problem and direct how answers to the project will be sought. Terms such as what, where, when, who, why would be used when someone is structuring the questions. Never ask a question that will not generate new insights. So make sure that the kind of questions that you ask, being it an exploratory, evaluative, explanatory, or a descriptive question, make sure that the question you ask is intended to generate new insights. At most, 5 questions for a research project would be enough. Statement of hypothesis. A hypothesis is a formal statement that presents the expected relationship between an independent and a dependent variable. A hypothesis is a tentative explanation of the research problem, a possible outcome of the research, or an educated guess about the research outcome. So instead of using research questions, some researchers or some supervisors encourage their students to make use of the hypothesis. However, you should use hypothesis if you can carry out hypothesis testing. If you cannot carry out hypothesis testing, please stick to the research questions. The hypothesis is normally made up of the null hypothesis, that is the H naught, and the alternative hypothesis, as illustrated here. There was no relationship between inflation and economic growth in Zimbabwe between 2000 and 2018, and also the H1 is stated. So make sure that when you state your hypothesis, you test it using various hypothesis testing methods. And also, uh, in the chapter that deals with data analysis, tell us whether you are rejecting H naught or you cannot reject H naught. Assumptions of the study make all research possible by creating a conducive theoretical environment. Assumptions create an artificial world by holding certain factors constant. There are certain factors that may affect our research. So, as a researcher, you are encouraged to state assumptions which you would want, or to state factors which you would want to hold constant. This is done by taking your research into an artificial world. In a realistic world, someone can say, in a realistic world, there are taxes. But in an artificial world, you might assume that there are no taxes. So this makes research possible. The research study assumed that items which constitute the consumer basket did not change during the period under study, though we might know that the items might also change. So assumptions are very, very important. Significance of the study are sometimes called importance of the study. The researcher should explain how the society might benefit from the research study. Once a certain class of beneficiaries is selected, one should go ahead and explain how that class or how that group of beneficiaries is likely to find the research more interesting. There are certain items that are normally put by students who say the study might be important to the student, to the university, to the supervisor. This is general knowledge, and it's known that a student carries out a study that is important to him or her, and also important to the university and the supervisor. As a word of encouragement, we can pick and say the government, potential and existing investors, management. So you need to explain now how management can benefit from your research. Limitations are potential weaknesses in your study that are out of your control. So you need to state and explain how you are likely to deal with each of them. Some supervisors encourage their students to state the limitations after completion or after completing the research. There are certain items that are stated by students as limitations: time, financial constraints, data. I don't encourage students to write on these as limitations. Why? Because when you select your topic, make sure that you select a topic which you can carry out within the shortest possible time, and also using the available financial resources, and also where access to data is not a problem. So these items, don't include them as part of the limitations. Rather, focus on the study, on those items within the study which you would want to say these were the possible limitations. Then delimitations, these are factors that limit the scope and define the boundaries of your study. These are within your control and include, among other factors, the choice of the topic, participants, population and sample size, geographical setting, and time. So the delimitations would work to your advantage. The choice of topic, all these other issues. So The delimitations would work to your advantage by defining the boundaries. You ring fence your project, you ring fence your research using delimitations. Now, moving on, review of related literature. The researcher should demonstrate how the research relates to what has been done by other scholars in the past. Show your knowledge of relevant literature and clarify where your proposal fits into the debate in this literature. So you look at and cite the work that has been done by other scholars and tell us how your research proposal fits into the debate. Show the relevant theories in your study and how you intend to use them. However, don't make this section too long because the rest of the literature review would be covered in a separate chapter. The research methodology is designed to answer the question, how shall I conduct my research? And deals with the research design, population, sample size, sampling techniques, the data collection instruments, and the data collection procedure, the data analysis plans. So you have to tell us your research design. Is it a descriptive research design, a correlational research design, a clinical research design? So you choose your research design and explain the design and tell us the possible advantages. Your participants in terms of population and sample size are also important. The instruments. Are you using a questionnaire? Are you using interviews? And the questionnaire, tell us how you intend to administer that questionnaire. Are you using primary data or you are using secondary data? Then for students in banking and finance and those doing economics, these students are encouraged to make use of models. You might want to use a simple linear regression model, that is to predict the relationship or to predict a certain variable using another variable. Are you going to use multiple linear regression? Are you going to use time series models? Are you going to use polynomials? So just state the kind of model and the estimation procedures. Also tell us the various tests that you intend to conduct as part of data analysis. Unit root tests, that is stationarity tests, maybe multicollinearity tests, among other tests. So tell us the kind of tests. And also, if you are going to use dedicated econometric computer packages such as SPSS, eViews, Minitab, MATLAB, Stata, SAS, just but to mention a few, you need to tell us under the research methodology. Then the summary. The researcher should restate the main focus of the research in summary, and also a connection of the current chapter and the next chapter is necessary. References are also important. At the end, a student should compile a list of all cited sources. The specific referencing style differs from one institution to another, whether you are using the Harvard referencing style or the Chicago or the APA or the MLA. It's up to the department. As an advice, students can use referencing tools such as Google Scholar, EasyBib, Mendeley, and EndNote. So you can research on these, how these work. But my encouragement to students is please make use of these tools. They are helpful. They will make your life easier. Some closing remarks. The proposal is written in future tense. Make use of recent or latest literature sources depending on your topic, of course. In the process of developing the proposal, work with your project supervisors. Mind formatting issues, grammar and spelling issues. You can use an application, Grammarly. Grammarly is so helpful when it comes to issues to do with grammar and spelling issues. Also use Turnitin to check for similarity, that is to check for plagiarism, so to see the percentage of plagiarism. The major reason why some proposals are turned down is because of the percentage of similarity. So make use of any other software that can give you a similarity index. Thank you very much for your time. My name is Mishek Diza. If you have any form of assistance or any form of support, please feel free to get in touch using the email displayed on the screen. Your comments are most welcome. Bye bye for now. Thank you.